Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will discuss Narada Bhakti Sutra 44, which is as follows. Kama krodha moh smriti bhramsh buddhi nash sarva nash karanatvat. The translation is as follows. Material association is the cause of lust, anger, confusion, forgetfulness, loss of intelligence, and total calamity. So, while Sri Narada is, imploring us to strive for association of pure devotees, sadhu sanga, he is warning us about the that we should beware of the asat sanga, bad association. So in the previous verse, Sri Narada said, "Oh, please don't be influenced by bad association. Renounce it, give it up. Don't be attracted to that." And now, in case we didn't heed to his advice, he is telling us the effects of bad association. So his this particular sutra resonates completely 100% with Lord Krishna's teachings in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, where the Lord says, Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsa Sangateshu Pujayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Smriti Viprama Smriti Bhrimshat Buddhi Nasho Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. That if we meditate on any sense object, material objects, we develop attachments towards them. Now when we develop attachment, and so from that attachment develops the anger. Now how can anger develop from the attachment? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that in Sri Bhaktalok. He says that once you develop attachment for a sense object, so there are two options. One is that you you are successful in attaining that object, and the second is that you are unsuccessful, you do not get that object. So suppose you do not get that object, you feel frustrated, and from frustration the anger arises. Now what happens that suppose you attain that object. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even if you attain that object, still most likely it will not fulfill your expectations. It will fall short of your expectation. Your expectation will be very high, but eventually you will see that the promised sense gratification, the promised happiness will never come. So out of that again the frustration arises, and that leads to anger. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that if we are meditating on sense objects, most likely we will end up in anger. That's his conclusion on this particular attachment to material objects. Now he says that how come in Sri Bhaktaloka again he talks about that, well, you see, the attachment basically is of two kinds. One is the attachment towards the various objects, the wealth, your house, your property, your car, your family, the bank balance, etc., your health. So that is one kind of attachment, and the other attachment is attachment to one's ideas. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur again says that this attachment to ideas can be further subdivided into two parts. One is the attachment from previous innumerable lives, and the attachment from this current life. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the attachment from innumerable lives before this current life, that basically creates our nature, and we are accustomed to act in a certain manner. How come that has come without any formal training? That has come from previous prejudices. And Baldev Vidyabhushan, in his commentary to Bhagavad Gita, he says this is basically past impressions called samskaras. So the samskaras we get right from our birth itself, and then we carry these samskaras, and these samskaras or prejudices, basically they are it is generally known as habits. And whatever we do, everything is influenced by the force of these habits. That is why you see it is generally mentioned that people are creatures of habit. You can predict, if you know a person too well, you can predict how he is going to react in a particular situation. Why is that? Because we know what kind of prejudices or what kind of affinity or attachment or hatred this person has for various objects. Based on that, we can always predict a person's behavior. And the second attachment, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the modern attachment, he uses the word, this modern attachment, that whatever facilities we get in this life based on our past karma, so based on proximity to those facilities or material objects, we develop more prejudices, we develop more attachment to our ideas, and we want things to work in a particular manner only. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, because of this, unless we have strong attachment to devotee association, our attachment to material sense objects, or our previous prejudices will continue, and it will basically hamper our progress in devotional life. So that's the overall sentiment that's basically reflected by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and we will discuss this particular thing in detail as we go forward, and then we will try and find a remedy to this predicament. So Srila Prabhupada, in purports to these particular verses from second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 62 and 63rd verse, Srila Prabhupada says that the senses, they actually require some real engagement. You cannot keep your senses inactive. The senses, if you try to keep them inactive, rasa varjam rasopi asya, you try to restrict this sense object, well, for some time, for a short period of time, you may be successful, but then again it will come back with a great force, and it will destroy all our sankalpas. And this is exactly what happens with karmis and jnanis, especially jnanis. The jnanis, they try to restrict senses, and we see what happened to Vishwamitra when he got, even after thousands of years of austerities, he got the association of Menaka, and he was attracted to her, and then he forgot all about his austerities. And similarly, we see that Sobari Muni, he was very afraid of his mind being diverted if he lives on the surface of the earth. So he went underwater, and he was doing austerities there. But there he saw two fishes interacting, having sex. So his mind got disturbed and he came out of the water. He couldn't continue his practices, his austerities, and he went and married 50 daughters of a king. So that's what happened, that if you try to restrict your senses, then it comes with far greater force, and whatever sankalpa or determination we have, it basically destroys our sankalpa completely. So Srila Prabhupada here says, well, that's not the answer. The senses need a real engagement. You can't keep it inactive. And Srila Prabhupada further says that if the senses are not engaged in the service of the Lord, then they will definitely, certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. So it is very clear that either we engage our senses materially, well, that's very bad. This is what karmis do. And if we try to restrict the Falgu renunciation, Falgu Vairagya, the false Vairagya, so as to say, so that Vairagya, by Falgu Vairagya, we try to reject sense gratification and we try to go towards mukti. But actually, because this particular process, it ignores, it disrespects the lotus feet of Krishna. So the person vimukta manenas, even if he thinks he is liberated, he falls down from his elevated position. Srila Prabhupada explains this with a very simple example. I mean, it's wonderful how Srila Prabhupada explains most difficult of topics with such an easy manner, so that we can easily understand and we become inspired to apply it in our day-to-day practical life. Srila Prabhupada says, suppose now there are three guys, there are three persons. One is a devotee of the Lord, another is a karmi, and the third person is a renunciate, the mumukshubi, the person who wants liberation. Now the person who is karmi, he will engage anything, everything he has. Suppose he get good food stuff, so he will immediately consume it, gratify his senses and be done with it. And he is not concerned with the instruction in Bhagavad Gita that if you eat anything without offering to the Lord, we are basically consuming sin only. So a materialistic person, a karmi, a bhogi person, whatever he gets, he uses to gratify his senses and incur sins. Now on the other extreme, the jnani or the mumukshubi, the person desiring liberation, now when he sees good food stuff, he immediately says, oh no, neti, I don't want it, this is going to incriminate me, I will be my mind will be contaminated, so I don't want to use it. So he remains dry, he becomes thin, and he suffers a lot. Now the third person devotee, Srila Prabhupada says, he takes that nice food stuff like gulab jamun, and he offers to the deities, Krishna, and then he very happily consumes. So he enjoys the food stuff, he makes spiritual progress at the same time. So this is the difference between the three gentlemen and how they progress or basically fall down. So Srila Prabhupada explains that when we forget our constitutional position and wish to enjoy the material resources, our material desires manifest and we associate with varieties of material enjoyments. And further, Srila Prabhupada explains, as soon as the concoctions of material enjoyment are there, because of our association, we create some sort of lust or attachment or eagerness to enjoy them. And when that false enjoyment doesn't actually make us happy, we create another illusion which is called anger, and by manifestation of anger, the illusion becomes stronger. When we are illusioned in this way, forgetful of our relationship with Krishna follows. So he says here, Smriti Vibrama, that we forget, Vismriti follows, that we forget our relationship with Krishna altogether and we are completely drowned in material miseries. And Srila Prabhupada further says, by thus losing Krishna consciousness, our real intelligence is defeated. So when Krishna speaks about Buddhi Nasho, it means Buddhi Nasho follows our intelligence. The destruction of our intelligence follows when we forget Krishna. All the Vedic injunctions, do's and don'ts, they have only two principal objectives. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartyona jatuchit sarve vidhi nishedhasur etayor ev kinkara. All the rules and regulations are servants of these two goals. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. And as soon as we forget Krishna, we are driven out of this Krishna consciousness, then our intelligence basically is lost. It is destroyed. And when our intelligence is destroyed, Srila Prabhupada says, in this way we become entangled in this material world. This is sarvanash. That we are entangled in samsara. We are born, we face death, again born, again face death. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. We basically get entangled in this mesh of material desire, raga and dvesha, and with attachment and hatred, our propensity to become more and more frustrated, become more and more angry, and losing our intelligence, the propensity to lose our intelligence becomes even stronger. So when Sri Narada is saying Sarvnash, actually he was not exaggerating. It is not that he is trying to scare us. Well, if we are scared, that's very nice. Maybe Sri Narada is successful in at least scaring us. When Sri Narada met Mrigari, and Mrigari, he told Mrigari, look what you are doing. He showed him the result, that all the animals and birds he is killing, they are all waiting for him, and in appropriate time they will also kill him and take revenge. So Mrigari got scared. So sometimes being scared is good. So if we are scared of the material life, that's a good sign. The problem is that we are no longer scared. And even after becoming devotees, we are not scared of the material life. We are not scared of what will happen if we don't execute our Krishna consciousness nicely. That's a big problem. And this is a kind of a wake-up call from Sri Narada when he says, well, everything will be destroyed, Sarvanash will happen. So Sarvanash is a big word, and Sri Narada is using, he is not out of place for using this word. Let us be scared. let us always feel fearful in this material world. Anything can happen at any time. So why we shouldn't be scared? That's out of question. Let's be scared from this material nature. Then only maybe we will get more inspiration to have association of devotees, and from there we may draw some kind of fearlessness. But that fearlessness should not induce us to associate closely with material objects. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that for what to talk of a grahastha, even for a renunciate, it is impossible to not associate with materially inclined people and the objects. When you are living in this samsara, in this material world, you have to interact with them. You have to live in between, among the various type of people. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur give advices in Shri Bhakta Lok that fine association actually means, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is discussing on this sang tyagat. He says, well, association means what? Dadati prati ganati, guhyam akhyati prachati, bhunkte bhojate chav, shatvidha priti lakshanam. That the association, he says, is of 6 types. That you give, you take, you speak in confidence with others, you hear what others are speaking in confidence to you, you go to others' place to eat food, you invite others to have food at your place. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, well, you can do that even for material people, as long as you are not doing this out of love, you are doing this out of duty, out of care. So if we associate with material people out of duty, well, okay, we have to do this. So if that is the case, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur assures us that it will not affect. The effect will come when we become enamored, when we start doing these things with love. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, well, this with love should only be reserved for devotees. Don't use this love factor with anybody other than devotees. So if we are able to follow this, then we will be safe. Otherwise, it's most likely that we will become entangled in this whole material world, and sarvanash, the total destruction, will basically follow. If we are interacting with devotees, now in the incident where 4 Kumaras went to meet Maharaj Prithu, because Maharaj Prithu satisfied Lord Krishna. So as a result of that, he was awarded the association of pure devotees, 4 Kumaras. And when the 4 Kumaras came there, Maharaj Prithu made a wonderful statement. He said, I have no need to ask about your welfare. He didn't ask, well, how are you? How is your health? How is everything? He said, there is no need to ask, because those who are spiritually advanced, for them it really doesn't matter. It's not that they don't care for their body. Of course they care for their body, because the body is an instrument to serve Krishna and devotees. So they do care, but devotees don't discuss. They are not bothered about material welfare. So Maharaj Prithu made a very apt statement. Well, I don't feel the need to ask about your welfare. I know it really doesn't matter for you. You are always situated beyond the 3 gunas, 3 material modes of nature. So, but if what happens if we are not doing that? What happens if we are not spiritually advanced, spiritually inclined? So then in 11th canto, a same sentiment is resonated, and where it is said, Yadi adharma ratah sangat asatam vajitendriya kamatma kripano lubdha strano bhut vihimsika pashun avidhina labhya preta bhut ganane jan narakan avasho jantur gatva yate ulbanam tamaha. And further it is mentioned that karmani dukh darkani kurvan dehen teh puna deham abhajate tatra kim sukham martya dharminaha. So the translation is as follows. It says, if a human being is engaged in sinful, irreligious activities, either because of bad association or because of his failure to control his senses. You see, failure to control senses, we discussed from where it is coming. It is coming from our that ancient prejudices, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. So then such a person will certainly develop a personality full of material desires. Now the person is hankering actually about various sense objects, and in Chaitanya Charitamrita such a person is called Shishnodar Parayan, who is always worried about filling his belly and worried about having sex. That's the two things most important in the life of a materially motivated person. So he thus becomes miserly towards others. Now he doesn't want to help others. Now he is not udhardhi. Now he is no more interested in speaking Krishna Katha to anybody. He is greedy, always anxious to exploit the bodies of women. When the mind is so polluted, one becomes violent and aggressive, and without the authority of Vedic injunction slaughters innocent animals for sense gratification. Now he becomes angry. He doesn't know what to do, what not to do. Srila Prabhupada gives an example in one of his lectures. He says, well, I have seen that two brothers, they got into some kind of argument and it became very heated. Now one brother, he killed the another brother, he shot him dead, and the police came and he captured the other brother, and when he was produced before a magistrate, the magistrate gave him to be hanged till death. So then the father of the two sons he approached the magistrate and he submitted a plea application, a mercy application. He said, well, I had two sons, one is already dead and you are going to hang him also. What will happen to me? So then the magistrate changed his hanging to life sentence. So, and in the recent past, we see in Noida two very affluent brothers, very affluent families, thousands of crores at their disposal. They got into heated discussion with each other, and both of them were carrying revolvers, and both of them shot each other at the same time. Both were killed at the spot. So that's what happens when you become angry, when you associate with material sense objects, when you are Shishnodar Parayan. Everything is finished. The whole Nepal royal family was killed in a fit of rage. Now that chap, that prince, he might be repenting. He might have repented, oh, what I have done. But then the deed is done. You cannot undo. If you kill somebody, you cannot undo that. That's a problem with this material world. So why not to be careful? Why not to save ourselves from the atrocities the material sense objects create, impose on our mind, our senses, on us as souls. So further it says, worshipping ghosts and spirits, the bewildered person falls fully into the grip of unauthorized activities and thus goes to hell, where he receives a material body infected by the darkest modes of nature. In such a degraded body, he unfortunately continues to perform inauspicious activities that greatly increase his future unhappiness, and therefore he again accepts a similar material body. What possible happiness can there be for one who engages in activities inevitably terminating in death? And a same thing, same sentiment is explained elsewhere. So Lord Kapila, now he says exactly same thing in 3rd canto 31st chapter. He says, यदि असद्भि पथि पुनः शिष्णोदर कृतोद्य मह आस्थितो रमते जंतुस तमसो विशति पूर्ववत. Now he says, if therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, again associates, now we can look at it from two different angles. One is that the person previously he fell into hell and he suffered for thousands and millions of years in hell, and then he got out of hell. He got various inferior bodies like plants, like animals, and then as he graduated, as he evolved through the species of life, he attained the human form of life, and having attained the human form of life, he again associates with the path of unrighteousness. This is one angle. The another angle is that we were already engrossed in material sense gratification, and then we got into the association of devotees. We started chanting, we started following 4 regulative principles, we were making progress in devotional service, but somehow if again that devotee associates with the path of unrighteousness, so both ways we can look at it. So what happens? Influenced by sensually minded people, those who are bhogis, those who are Shishnudar Parayan, engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and gratification of palate. Now gratification of palate and sex enjoyment is nothing but Shishnudar Parayan. So Lord Kapila says he again goes to hell as before. And then what happens? Then basically, because he associated, he had asat sanga, he was influenced by material sense gratification. Then Lord Kapila is agreeing with Sri Narad when he says he becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, lajja. Lajja is thrown like a piece of crap. Who cares about lajja? I mean, the women of this modern world, they think lajja is an insult to them. I mean, lajja is an instrument by which this shameless men of this world, they are capturing us, they are enslaving us. So the first thing when they become intelligent is to give up lajja, and they think, well, we have done a great thing by giving up shyness. Whereas Srila Prabhupada says shyness is the most powerful weapon an istri, a woman, can have. Even a woman of lower caste, a Shudra, if that woman has shyness, the men of higher caste, even Brahmana, they have to make way for that Shudra woman. That is the power of shyness. So, Lord Kapila says that that person, because he again associated with the path of unrighteousness, he loses spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness. Now he is in no mood to forgive. He wants to take revenge, whatever is the cost. Control of mind, control of senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. So this is the result. This is the result of associating with material objects, with asat sanga. Here, one important thing that I would like to mention here, that let me find that verse where Lord Krishna is discussing. So but what happens to the fact that this material world is basically false? It has no real value. Then how come whatever is happening is affecting us? So Lord Krishna explains in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto. He says, Arte hi avidyaman. Avidyaman. Vidyaman means present. Avidyaman, it is not there. Arte hi avidyaman samsmritir na nivartate. Samsmriti means the samsar. We are born again and again, we die again and again. This is called samsmriti. Samsar basically is synonyms. Dhyayato vishyanasya swapne anarth agamo yatha. So he says, for one who is meditating on sense gratification, material life, although lacking factual existence, avidyamanepi, there is no factual existence. It is not there. It simply doesn't exist. So there is no factual existence. It does not go away. Even if factually it is non-existent, still it will not go away, just as the unpleasant experiences of a dream do not. Now, all of us have experienced when we are having bad dreams, we are stuck and we are in a dense forest, and we are faced with a ferocious tiger, and that tiger is about to devour us, and we are running, we are screaming at the top of our voice, we are screaming for our other friends who are nearby only, but nobody comes, and the tiger is slowly coming nearer and nearer, making sure that we have no escape route, and we are out of wits. We are completely bewildered. We want this whole thing to stop, but unfortunately the dream doesn't stop. Back of the mind, we know that this is not even factual. We are dreaming in all possibility, but the dream would not stop, and the tiger eventually pounces on us and devours us most mercilessly, and we continue to watch that, we continue to experience that. So there is no factual existence, but still it affects us. How it affects us? Shri Krishna says that it affects because of false ego. So because of false ego, So Srila Prabhupada, Lord Krishna is explaining that, see, the soul exists. Fine. Everyone agrees soul exists. And the material body exists. Everyone agrees that it is temporary, but it exists. But the sambandha, the relationship of the material body with soul, it doesn't exist. It is not factual. But then how come it exists? Even though there is no factual existence, how come we are so much affected by it? So Lord Krishna explains in the 11th canto. He says, well, it affects us, that non-factual existence becomes a reality for us because of presence of false ego. Because of false ego, the soul starts identifying with the material body and then starts experiencing all the pleasures and pains associated with our material body. And Srila Prabhupada explains in one of the purports in Bhagavatam, he says, even if these sense objects are not there, because we are meditating on them in our dream, we are dreaming, there is no factual sense objects, but we are dreaming. So in our dream, because we are meditating on sense objects, they become manifest in our dreams. And Srila Prabhupada gives an evidence for that manifestation. Srila Prabhupada says, because those objects manifest, that is why sometimes we have nocturnal discharge. So nocturnal discharge means we are actually feeling, otherwise how come there is an external impact of a non-existential element? So Lord Krishna says that it happens because of false ego. The false ego makes that connection. The false ego connects the soul to the material body, and it is explained in Bhagavatam. It says, even after one awakens from a dream, the dream, reflection of the dream may linger in one's memory. Sometimes when we wake up from a very bad dream, still we carry the memory, that bitter memory of the dream in our mind. Similarly, one engaging in devotional service of the Lord may be troubled sometimes by the dim reflection of sinful life. So even after we join devotional service, we start associating with devotees, still there may be some reflections of the sinful life. As Srila Prabhupada says, that it is not that as soon as you switch off the fan stops moving. That inertia is there. The fan still, the blades of the fan still continues to move, and gradually they come to a halt. Gradually they stop. So that reflection, even after we start associating with devotees, the reflection of sinful life continue. And it is advised in Bhagavatam, it says, one should therefore become strong in Krishna consciousness by hearing Lord's instruction. So how to further extend this point, how we can save ourselves from all this phantasmagoria, how can we save ourselves from all this trouble this material world is causing us, how we can become peaceful, and with a peaceful and happy heart, how can we serve Krishna? So Srila Rupa Goswami gives the medicine for that, gives the answer to this. He says, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, that this false ego, the false ego created that attachment between the body and the soul. So how the attachment is created? By creating various upadhis, by creating various like I am husband, I am wife, I am an Indian, I am a Hindu, or I am a Muslim. So all these designations. So get rid of these designations, get rid of these upadhis. So that is why, how wonderfully our acharyas, they are trying to help us by giving us instructions. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam. Give up all the designations. Don't be influenced by these false designations anymore. Tat paratven nirmalam. Your senses, your mind will become peaceful. And then further Rupa Goswami says, Rishikesh sevanam bhaktir uchate. Then with that peaceful and happy heart, you engage your senses in the service of Krishna. And because you have given up all the designation, all the upadhis, because your mind, your senses are purified, now you will be able to you will be able to engage in unobstructed, apratihata, unobstructed devotional service to Lord. And this is what is called sevanam bhakti ruchate. This is called devotional service. So the choice is ours. If we want to engage in asat sanga, the end result is sarvanash, total destruction. It may have many routes, but eventually it will lead to our total destruction. And the another option that we may have is to have association of devotees, which is durlabha, rare, which is agamya, very difficult to understand, but it is amogha. It is infallible. It will invariably take us out of the clutches of Maya and deliver us in the spiritual world, where we can happily and eternally engage in the service of Krishna. So we'll stop here. Many thanks for listening to this lecture. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.